Hello everyone, welcome to Winged Horse Designs. I'm Donna Goodwin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Brookings, South Dakota. Today we're going to do this fun triple easel card. It's really super easy to do, even though it may look a little bit on the complicated side. So I just wanted to welcome everyone who's here live, and for those of you who are joining on the replay, welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun with that card. I'm going to switch cameras real quick so that I can show you some things that we're doing. So last week, I did this flip flap shutter card. And during the live, this went out to Terry. Congratulations, Terry. And for those of you who liked, commented, and shared during the live and during the replay, this is going out to Dee Hutchinson. So Dee, if you are watching, please get in touch with me. You commented on YouTube, so please do like, comment, or excuse me. Oh, gee, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Please do click on the About tab in my YouTube page, and they'll give you my email address, and you can send me your mailing address so I can send this card out to you. And then before we get started on our project, Betty sent me this really pretty card. I'm not sure which embossing folder she did from what company, but the flower is done with the Poppy Moments. It's a retired die set. And she also, you can't really see it in camera very well, but it's using the shimmer paper in there that comes in fresh freesia, soft succulent, and I forget the other color it came in. Anyway, very, very pretty card, and she accented that with the gold overlays, and it's just a simple thank you card. So thank you for that, Betty. All right, this card, the one that looks so hard that is really so easy. So the products that I chose to use on this is I chose the Cheerful Daisies, but we're using mostly the dies with that. The only stamp I'm using from the Cheerful Daisies is this leaf. And then for the sentiment, we're using this Happy Birthday. And that's in the go-to greeting. So those are the two stamp sets that we're using. Not much stamping because we're focusing on the pretty paper. And I'm in love with this Fresh as a Daisy paper. It also happens to be part of, I should have checked that before going live, and I apologize for not checking. You have all these different designer series paper that are on sale in the month of June. So you can get this for $10.60 something rather than $12.50. But I'm just in love with this paper. I just can't get enough of it. So I'm using it again. Now, the measurements. You will not need to write these down. They're in the description. This card is a slightly larger card. This uses an A6 envelope. So these envelopes measure 4 3/4 inches by 6.5 inches. So this card is a little bit larger than what you're used to seeing me do. And later in the video, I have one to show you that's using the standard A2 size. So this one measures 6 inches by 9 inches, scored in the middle at 4.5 inches. And I'm using Lemon Lolly for that. Actually, I was going to show you something before I do this. So I started out, you have, oh, wrong way. You have your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And I cut 2 inches off the bottom so that I could have 9 inches. And then I cut 2.5 inches off of this side. And of course, those 2 strips you can use for lots of other things. And that gave me, so you're only going to get 1 card out of a sheet of cardstock with this size versus 2. But it's so worth it. I'm going to set this aside because we're going to come back and cut those strips in just a bit. And then, like I said, I used the Fresh as a Daisy designer series paper. So I picked this side that had mostly green and some pretty peacock in it. And it's 4 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And then I have them taped together here just so that I can keep them together. But you have 3 strips that measure 1.5 inches by 3 5/8 of an inch, or basically slightly smaller than what you're going to need when you cut these strips. So I'll set those aside. And then you're going to need a bunch of die cuts that I did ahead of time just to save us some time so we could focus more on the cut. I cut out a bunch of different labels. I cut out more than I need because they're just handy to have on hand. But for this, you're going to need 3 of these. I'm going to leave them there in case I need them. You're going to need 6 of this one die. So let me bring that back and show you those dies. We have these dies that cut out the stamps, but they also have an intricate die on the inside. So I used these 2 here. I used this daisy for when the card is closed. And I used this daisy to create my anchor or stop that the easel will set on. And I used both the detailed and the regular. And then I used here's that label, and then I used the leaf there as well. But it's got lots of nice dies that you can use. And I think you've seen me use almost all of them or most of them already. You're going to need 6 of these. So we have 3 that we're going to layer up by putting some detail on them. And then 3 that we're going to put underneath. It really helps when you're doing this to double stack. Whoops, here we go. To double stack this if you can. That just creates a higher lift and it anchors. The stop holds better that way. And you'll see what I mean when I show you the other card because I did not double layer it. So 6 of these. I'm just going to toss them back in here for now. Then you'll need 3 each. And I chose to do crushed curry and white on top of those just to kind of go with the flow of pattern paper I chose to use. So you need 3 of the cornflower shape and 3 of the other shape. And I did go ahead and put adhesive sheets on the back of these before cutting them out so that they would just be easier than trying to do dotted glue. And then I stamped in garden green once and then without re-inking stamped again. And I stamped out a whole bunch of the leaves and cut them out. And I stamped them on soft sea foam so that I wouldn't have that stark white against the green. So we'll set all of those aside and we'll get started on what you're interested in. So there's very little stamping. So I'm going to do the stamping first and then we can focus on this. So welcome Patty, welcome Irene, and for those of you joining on replay, welcome as well. So I'm going to bring in something to protect my work surface here. And a piece of washi tape just to hold these still. So I'm going to tape it down here on the right side because I'm going to stamp over here on the left side. So I'm taking garden green and I'm taking this happy birthday and I want to stamp birthday first. And you can use, I'm going to use a little Post-it note here and I'm going to put it right here between happy and birthday so that I can ink up birthday because I just like the way it looks better when it's ink versus a marker. Don't forget to ask your questions as we go along, and then at the end, I will answer those questions. And I'm going to stamp this. Okay, if I can do this without sticking my head in the camera. I'm going to stamp birthday over here on the left. And then I'm going to bring up the other one. Anchor it down with a piece of washi tape. I need to clean this so that I can stamp just happy. Another way you can do this if you don't like to use Post-it notes or you don't wish to use a marker, maybe you don't have a marker, you can cut your stamp and then mount them on your block back to back again later to get the full sentiment. I just prefer not to do that if I can help it. I don't mind so much cutting stamps maybe with the photopolymers, but with these rubber ones, it's harder to get them back up. I'll take our Post-it note off. And again, try to do this without getting my head in the camera. I'm going to stamp happy. And if you're just joining us or joining us on replay, welcome. We are doing a triple panel easel card. I'm going to bring that Post-it note in, and I'm going to cover up that birthday again. That's all the stamping I did on this one. I will do some more stamping later because, as you can see, when this card is open, I could do some stamping in here and I could put some words in here, but I wanted it to just not distract from when the card is sitting up on its mounts. So I only did the stamping here. So I will later stamp a piece and put it on the back where you can sign. Now this is a light color. You wouldn't necessarily need to add another piece of cardstock for writing your message. When this card is closed, it has all these pretty sunflowers on it and it reads happy, happy birthday. But when it's open, there really isn't much of anything in there. This is just meant more for a background to hold these. So now that I have these, I need to put my, I'm going to put this down for a second. I need to put my flowers together. And so, like I said, I chose, the hardest part of this is getting this backing off. I chose to go ahead and do white on crushed curry so that it would kind of match these flowers that are in here. And this just makes it, by using the self-adhesive sheets, just made that much easier to do than if I were to sit here with the glue bottle and do the dots. We're going to have plenty of gluing later. Okay, there is one little trick to make this a little bit easier. I'm going to take the paper piercing side of my Take Your Pick tool and I'm going to grab that backing with that. Then I don't have to fight with it with my short fingernails. And if you have nicely manicured acrylic nails, it's really hard to get a hold of those backings. So I would do that. Then I took and I glued my leaves to the back. I just glued them with some liquid glue, and I need 3 of those. So I've already done those. And I need to glue these on here. So before I do that, I need to work on my front piece. So you're going to open your card back up, bring in your paper trimmer. Let the camera catch up here. Move the scoring blade out of the way. And this is the reason I sized this card into a 4.5. The YouTube video just stopped. I have tried to get it going. Nothing. Patty tried joining me over on Facebook. I'm going to cut from the fold line to the outside edge at 2 inches and 4 inches. And this is why I chose the larger size card. And we now have 3 equal pieces and panels here. But the other thing we have to do, and I'm going to bring in the scoreboard for that because it's easier. You can still do it with your trimmer. It's just this is larger, and so it's bigger. Now, I put a piece of washi tape. You could use a marker, whatever you want, just so that you have one track that you can easily see. I'm going to fold 2 out of the way. We're going to go from the bottom left corner to the upper right corner. So I'm just going to line those 2 points in that groove. And I'm going to score diagonally. I'm going to fold that one away and do the same thing on all 3 of these. And so now we have 3 diagonal lines. I should have used a darker color. It'd be easier to see. We're just going to fold those along those diagonal lines. And then we can start decorating the front. Before I decorate the front, I'm going to go ahead and put the background piece down. I'm going to have to go out and afterward, I may have to upload to YouTube if it's not. And it could just be that it was a momentary hiccup. Sometimes that happens. I know last week Facebook was having lots of issues. So maybe this week it's YouTube's turn. That's a pretty side too. Okay, doesn't like that bottle. I have a lot of bottles that are nearing the end, don't I? Okay, one more try. And if we can't get the glue to, oh, this is a new bottle. This should be, there we go. Just got to be careful not to get too much glue now. So for the stops, I'm going to put down one piece that's just plain. And I'm going to anchor this one pretty close to the bottom edge here. And then I'm going to put another piece on top of it, and I put dimensionals on both of these so this, if you don't want to do it this way, you can save by cutting out this many pieces or labels or whatever you're using and just layer your dimensionals on top of each other. So I'm going to put that one down. Now to decide where to put the rest, fold the panel over. And that gives you a guide as to where to put the next one. Fold that panel over so that you now have a guide. Whoops. This one goes on top of this, getting ahead of myself. Now somewhere in here I have a plain one. It has dimensionals already on it. Then we're going to fold this panel down to give us a guide where to go for this one. I knew I had one that already had some dimensionals on it. And that's going to act as our stops for each of these. So I'm going to, just to make it easy, I'm going to lay it totally wide open like this. And I'm going to glue on these panels. So these are 1.5 inches by, yes, 3 5/8, but basically for those of you who have a love-hate relationship with measurements, just a bit. You're going to go a lot smaller this time. If you normally would come in 1/4 inch, you're going to come in 1/2 inch both directions, and then just a little bit more. Okay, this bottle wants to give me too much glue. So I guess it's time to talk about different things that are happening. I talked about the Designer Series sale that's going on the entire month of June. Another special that Stampin' Up! Is offering during the month of June is a signing bonus. And that is, you can get $150 of product for just $99. Normally it's only $125. I've already done my monthly classes for June, but there's still some craft and chats, which if you're local to me, that's every Wednesday from 11 to noon here at the house. We do one card so we can focus more on chit-chatting and just have a good time with friends. And you can find all of that information in the links at the bottom of the description. We're getting close to the end. If you watch me regularly, you know that I did a twisted easel card on Friday on my pre-record videos that I do on Friday. That one had lots of different layers on it. And don't forget to ask your questions so that we can do questions and answers at the end. And also the giveaway tool through StreamYard, which is what I use to stream with, pulls from comments. So if you want a chance for me to send you this card, you'll want to go out to StreamYard. So I'm just going to use this as a guide here, where I think I want this to be so that I know about where I want to put this flower. I don't want it to come below, definitely not above the card. And I think I'm going to set it this way. And there's a lot going on, so I'm just going to put a little glue down here. Oops. I'm kind of, for right now, just kind of keeping track of where that might be. Let's go the other direction. Again, staying within the parameters of this panel. Okay. Now when I glue these down, I need to be careful to only put glue on this side. So I'm going to just take from this corner, from this lower corner here to this corner here. And glue that one down. And then for the most part, I'm going to try and keep these kind of lined up, but they don't have to be. Now I'm going to just let that sit for a second so that it has a chance to really dry. And I'm going to bring in some bling to put in the center of those. And I've got these adhesive backed solid gems. They come in Lemon Lolly, which is this little bitty pale yellow here, and the color of the card base. Balmy Blue and Pecan Pie. I'm going to go ahead and use the bigger ones, which means this card is probably going to require a non-machinable stamp. The other thing you can do is we can add a little detail here too, simply by taking a marker and just adding some dots to make it look like, I call it the fuzzy part of a daisy. You know how the center kind of looks like fuzz? And then maybe, that was crushed curry, the same color as the cardstock. This is early espresso. You know how they also have that darker kind of ring next to the petals. And that just gives you even more detail by adding that in. Now, when we fold this card, or when we take this card of the envelope and we fold these up, we have a triple panel easy card that reads Happy, Happy Birthday. So I just thought that this would be a fun one to do. It looks like it looks a lot more difficult than what it really is, but I think it's kind of fun. Now, I said that I would show you one that's done with a standard A2 size, because you know me, I love the A2 side. So this one's done with the Bright and Beautiful paper, and it's not done yet because I need to add some balloons or something to it. But I did Happy, Happy, Happy on the front. And then the inside is Birthday, Birthday, Birthday. And again, this one I only used one dimensional on those. And so it works, but it's a lot easier for it to pop off of that stop. So if you double layer it up like that, that really helps. Now, the measurements for this. Are you ready for this? If you're using the A2 size, which measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches scored at 4.5. You're going to cut these panels. You're going to want to cut this down to 5.25 inches in order to have these strips at 1.75 inches. That's how you can keep that straight. This one actually is a true 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. And this measurement, for those of you who have the love-hate relationship with measurements, this measurement from the bottom in and the top down, which means this panel is just slightly bigger, is 1 13/16. But if you cut 1/4 inch off the height of your card, you can make each of these 1 3/4 inches, which is so much easier than working with 1/16 of an inch. Okay, let's review some questions as we go through and see what we have. So Patty is here. Irene is here. Patty was having problems seeing me on YouTube, but jumped over onto Facebook. Betty is watching on YouTube and not having any problems. So that kind of tells me what I thought it might be, Patty, that it might be that there was just a hiccup somewhere in your YouTube. Sometimes that happens. And a lot of it just depends on where people are coming from. Paula says she'll have to watch it again. Looks intriguing. Terry is here. Sue is here. Thank you. I'm glad you like this card. Terry says she's joining late. Some of her friends were here from Huron. Oh, fun. My daughter and son-in-law and his parents were in Huron over the weekend. And Sherry just says, wow. It's actually a really easy card, Sherry. I was surprised. I was expecting it to be a little more difficult than it is. Terry's enjoying the card. And whoops. Let me figure out where I am. Betty says this is a beautiful card. Thank you, Betty. Deb thinks it's awesome. Deb, you ready to do this in a class? Yes? No, I'm not. Sherry says, these are so cute. Thank you. I think that cute, And, oh, the measurements. Yes, I know the measurements. I know most of you have a love-hate relationship with measurements. But again, if you just change them ever so slightly, you can get nice, easy measurements. And then for your designer series papers, do the same thing you do with any normal card and just make it slightly smaller than the piece that is going on. Hard to get it to stay. Oh, only if you, that's why I recommend that you, let's see if I can get this to show on the camera. That's why I recommend double stacking the dimensionals. That way it sits higher and it stays up better. And then yes, you will probably need more postage. Creative. Actually, I'm not going to take credit for this, Sherry. I saw it out on YouTube. Somebody else had done it, a couple months ago, and I thought it was just a cool card. Her measurements were a little different. Obviously, I changed the measurements. No problem. Yeah, sure. It'll take about, I'll give everyone, while I'm queuing up the giveaway tool, it'll give you another few seconds to get in on there if you're out there watching and have not made a comment yet, either on YouTube or Facebook. That'll give you a chance to do that, and then we'll see who this card's going to go to. So, whoops. First, I want to do this. That isn't the way I wanted to do it, but there, this is the way I wanted to do it. I want to make sure you can still hear me. And we'll get this started. Okay. 1 of 8 of you Irene. Congratulations, Irene. And let me see. Stop green. And there we go. I'll get there. I have this new cool tool coming. I can't wait till it gets here because I won't have to move the mouse around so much, and it should make this easier to switch back and forth. So, and while we were working on that, France Eldridge said it was a fantastic card. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed this card. I have a waterfall fold that I'm going to pre-record for you on Friday. So look for a pre-recorded upload coming. It may be called a waterfall fold. That doesn't necessarily mean it involves waterfalls, and it may or may not be. Usually they're vertical or portrait. I might switch it up a bit and make it landscape. We'll just have to wait and see what I do with it. So I hope you'll come back and watch that. And I hope you'll come back next Monday for a magic slider card or secret message or whatever word you choose to call them. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Happy trails.